Welcome to Session 23. Now we zoom out from individual markets to the whole economy. Macroeconomics. How do we measure it? Why does it rise and fall? And how does the government try to steer it? By the end, you'll be able to read GDP and the business cycle, understand inflation and unemployment, and compare the Fed's monetary policy with the government's fiscal policy. The headline number for any economy is GDP, Gross Domestic Product. It's the total value of all final goods and services a country produces in a year, and it's the single best measure of an economy's size and health. There's a simple formula. GDP equals C plus I plus G plus net exports. C is consumer spending, and here's the key fact. It's about 70% of U.S. GDP. The rest is I for business investment, G for government spending, and X minus M for net exports. Exports minus imports. Add them up, and you have the whole economy. Economies don't grow in a straight line. They move through a repeating pattern called the business cycle. In an expansion, GDP grows and unemployment falls. The expansion reaches a peak, the high point. Then comes a contraction, or recession, when GDP falls. Officially, a recession is 2 consecutive quarters of shrinking GDP. The recession bottoms out at the trough, and then recovery begins and the whole cycle repeats. A severe, prolonged recession is called a depression, like the Great Depression. 2 numbers dominate the headlines: inflation and unemployment. Inflation is a general, sustained rise in prices, meaning your money buys less over time. We measure it with the Consumer Price Index, the CPI, which tracks the price of a basket of everyday goods. Unemployment comes in types the GED tests. Frictional is the normal gap between jobs. Structural is a skills mismatch. Your skills no longer fit the jobs. Cyclical unemployment happens during a recession, when demand drops and workers get laid off. And seasonal is predictable, like a ski instructor out of work in summer. So, how does government steer the economy? The first lever is monetary policy, run by the Federal Reserve. The Fed, our independent central bank. Its dual mandate is maximum employment and stable prices. Its main tool is the federal funds interest rate. When the economy is weak, the Fed lowers rates. Cheaper borrowing means more spending and investment. When inflation is too high, the Fed raises rates. Costlier borrowing means less spending, which cools the economy down. That's exactly what the Fed did in 2022 to fight high inflation. The second lever is fiscal policy, government spending and taxes. Unlike the independent Fed, this is set by Congress and the President through the budget. To fight a recession, the government uses expansionary policy, spend more or cut taxes to boost demand. This is the Keynesian idea. When private spending collapses, government becomes the spender of last resort. To fight inflation, it does the reverse, contractionary policy. Spend less or raise taxes. But spending more than you collect creates deficits, which pile up into the national debt, now over $34 trillion. Let's test it. A factory worker loses his job when robots replace his assembly line. What type of unemployment is this? The answer is A, structural unemployment. His skills no longer match the available jobs because technology changed the work. It's hard to fix because he needs retraining, not just a recovery. Structural unemployment comes from skills being made obsolete by technology or industry change. It's tougher than cyclical unemployment, which ends when the economy recovers. Here, the job itself is gone, so the fix is retraining. Let's recap Session 23. GDP equals C plus I plus G plus net exports, and consumer spending is about 70% of it. The business cycle moves through expansion, peak, recession, and trough. Inflation is measured by the CPI, and unemployment comes in 4 types. The Fed runs monetary policy by adjusting interest rates, while Congress runs fiscal policy through spending and taxes, and deficits build up the national debt.